The seasoned investigators, with their wealth of experience in the world of crime, acknowledged the sheer horror of this atrocity, particularly considering the youthfulness of the perpetrator and the brutal manner in which he executed the deed. Let's dive into the narrative by introducing the victims of this tragic event. Oliver Chip Jennings Northup Jr. was born on April 26, 1925, in Grand Island, Nebraska. Chip served in the United States Navy during World War II and later pursued a career in law. A graduate of UCLA and Bolt Hall, UC Berkeley School of Law, he dedicated himself to his legal practice until his passing at the age of 87. Chip was not only a respected attorney, but also an active member of his community, serving on the Woodland School Board and as city attorney for Woodland, Winters, and Yolo. A talented musician and devoted member of the Davis Unitarian Universalist Church, Chip met his beloved wife, Claudia Maureen Mauping, at the church, and they shared 17 years of marriage. On April 17, 2013, everything changed. It marked the final night Chip and Claudia bid each other goodnight. It had been a routine for them to sit together on the balcony of their house at 6 in the morning before heading to church. Neighbors noticed their absence that morning, along with the balcony light persistently glowing despite the sun's ascent. Church friends also remarked on their unprecedented no-show. Robert, one of Chip's sons, visited Chip's house but received no response after knocking and calling. Assuming they wanted privacy, he left, though he had keys to the house. As evening approached, neighbors, troubled by the still-lit balcony, contacted Claudia's daughter, Laura. Concerned, Laura attempted contact but was met with silence. Approaching the back of the house, she discovered an open window with visible cracks. Sensing something amiss, she called the police. Law enforcement surrounded the house, shining flashlights into the bedroom. To their astonishment, Chip and Claudia lay motionless with blood on them. Breaking down the door, police entered to find a gruesome scene. Chip and Claudia submerged in a pool of blood. The investigators initiated an in-depth examination of the crime, yet they uncovered no evidence pointing to the perpetrator. Hopeful for a breakthrough, they awaited the forensic report's findings, only to be disappointed as it yielded minimal information, merely detailing the number of stab wounds inflicted on each victim. Claudia endured a brutal 67 stabs to her abdomen and chest, while Chip suffered 61 wounds to similar regions. Additionally, the killer gruesomely used a knife to open their bodies, gouging out Claudia's eyes and placing her teeth in her throat through forceful blows. Chip's face bore knife-drawn circles, and the assailant extracted all vital organs from both victims. Perplexingly, the forensic examiner discovered a phone positioned in Claudia's heart area and a glass of wine in Chip's heart region. Regrettably, this information failed to provide any assistance to the investigators. The lead investigator opted to seek assistance from investigators in various states to form a specialized team dedicated to overseeing this intricate case. In a groundbreaking move within the history of criminal investigations, 25 FBI special agents, 17 forensic experts and forensic doctors were summoned to examine the bodies and crime scenes, aiming to unearth evidence leading to the elusive killer. However, this collaborative effort yielded no different results, as the team produced a report mirroring the initial one. They suggested that the perpetrator was either a seasoned criminal or had ties to forensic medicine, categorizing the crime as a perfect crime. Drawing from testimonies of neighbors attesting to Chip and Claudia's beloved nature, the investigators inferred that the culprit could be a potential serial killer, hinting at future crimes. Alternatively, the killer might have familial ties to the victims, or it could involve more than one person due to the extensive 128 knife wounds, indicative of significant effort. This led investigators to speculate that the crime was driven by revenge, as the assailant, despite breaking into the house and murdering the victims, left valuables untouched, including money, gold jewelry, and a gold watch worn by Chip. The investigators faced another enigma surrounding the phone and cup deliberately placed instead of the victims' hearts by the killer. Was this a cryptic message meant to convey something? The answer remained elusive. The investigators honed their attention on deciphering the killer's motive, believing it could unveil his identity. The inquiry led investigators to question the families of the victims, with suspicions turning towards Oliver, one of Chip's grandchildren, due to his mental illness. The rationale behind the suspicion was the belief that such heinous crimes might not be perpetrated by a mentally stable individual. Moreover, Oliver's father possessed a duplicate set of keys to Claudia and Chip's house, supporting the theory that the killer gained entry through the front door and exited through the guest room window, a ploy intended to mislead investigators. A thorough investigation involving Oliver ensued, but it revealed that he was not present at the crime scene on the fateful night. Family members affirmed the strong bond between Oliver and the victims. 2 months passed with no significant developments until a pivotal call altered the course of the investigation. The caller claimed to possess intricate details about the crime, including the identity of the perpetrator, identifying him as Daniel Marsh. The head of the investigation recognized Daniel Marsh, recalling his heroic act of saving his father from imminent death 5 years earlier, an incident widely known and celebrated in the community. The investigators found it perplexing that a caller sought to convince them that a young man, widely recognized for his heroism in the community, could be the culprit behind the murder of 2 elderly individuals. To understand the background of Daniel Marsh, let's delve into his past. Marsh, born on May 14, 1997, gained local acclaim in 2008 at the tender age of 10 when he received the American Red Cross Heroes Award for using CPR to save his father during a heart attack. In the same year, Marsh's parents underwent a tumultuous divorce, triggered by his mother's involvement with his former kindergarten teacher. It was during this period that Marsh's homicidal tendencies surfaced. At the age of 10, fueled by anger towards the woman who caused his mother to leave his father, he contemplated violent acts, including slitting her throat or strangling her. As early as age 10, Marsh began experiencing dreams of killing people. By the age of 11, he disclosed to a therapist his fantasies of torturing individuals and his unsettling desire to turn those fantasies into reality. At 11, Marsh received a diagnosis of adjustment disorder with a depressed mood. In 7th grade, he commenced making threats of physical harm. In May 2010, Marsh initiated sessions with David Besa, a clinical social worker from Kaiser Permanente. The intake form portrayed Marsh as experiencing nightmares, temper outbursts, nervousness, and a general aversion to other people. In August 2010, he was prescribed his first antidepressant, Prozac, with a dosage recommendation of 1 to 2 capsules daily, totaling 100 in quantity. As Marsh entered adolescence, he began using alcohol and marijuana. Shuttling between his parents' homes continued until he reached the age of 14, at which juncture his father expelled him due to persistent issues with drunkenness and marijuana use. Surprisingly, Marsh's mother remained oblivious to his substance abuse. In October 2011, Marsh developed anorexia, leading to his placement in an intensive outpatient program the following month. To address the condition, he had dwindled to a mere 93 pounds. From December 29, 2011 to January 25, 2012, Marsh was hospitalized for his eating disorder at Berkeley Hospital. A doctor observed Marsh experiencing feelings of derealization, with out-of-body experiences occurring 4 to 5 times a week. As time progressed, Marsh's violent thoughts intensified. At the age of 14, his dreams of killing people, which had begun at age 10, became more frequent. In mid-December 2012, Marsh confided in a school counselor about his homicidal fantasies, prompting police intervention at the school. Marsh was involuntarily hospitalized due to the perceived danger he posed to himself and others. In January 2013, he disclosed his homicidal ideations concerning school peers to a school psychologist. When questioned about the potential for acting on these thoughts, Marsh chillingly asserted, "I have full confidence that I could hurt these people." A police officer was once again summoned to the school, but it was determined that Marsh posed no immediate threat to himself or others, and consequently, no further action was taken. Shortly afterward, Marsh had another meeting with the school counselor, during which he vividly described his desire to torture people by peeling skin from their hands and cutting off their eyelids. Marsh revealed that these disturbing fantasies only scratched the surface of his thoughts, and he had resigned himself to no longer resisting them. As there was perceived to be no explicit intent or identified victims, Marsh's revelations were not reported to authorities. Despite the lack of immediate intervention, Marsh's homicidal thoughts persisted. He regularly contemplated ways to kill people when observing them, entertained fantasies of a schoolyard massacre, and aspired to become a serial killer. Over time, he began more openly discussing with friends his thoughts about torturing and killing random individuals, complemented by creating violent drawings in art class. These illustrations depicted torture and killings in gruesome detail. Friends later recalled Marsh frequently speaking about murdering people, asserting that if caught, he would feign insanity. He even devised a detailed written plan to kill his girlfriend's ex-boyfriend. Moreover, Marsh demonstrated an unusual interest in notorious serial killers such as Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer. Starting in 2012, Marsh became fixated on bestgore.com, a website that showcased gore porn and amateur videos featuring real-life gory events. In addition to his fascination with gore porn and fantasies of committing murder, one friend disclosed that Marsh had once strangled a cat in the street. When questioned about the incident, Marsh callously replied, "Well, I just wanted to do it. I hated that cat." He also asked the same friend if he could kill his dog. In May 2013, Marsh faced expulsion from school after being found with a knife on campus. Throughout the investigation, media outlets highlighted the case, emphasizing the elusive killer still on the loose. This attention fueled Daniel's pride. One day, he confided in his friend Alvaro, claiming to be the perpetrator. Alvaro initially doubted him, but Daniel persisted in sharing intricate details of the crime with Alvaro. Alarmed by Daniel's unpredictable behavior, Alvaro contacted the police and divulged all he knew. The head of the investigation, skeptical that a 15-year-old could be the culprit, summoned Alvaro to provide detailed statements, raising suspicions about his involvement. After securing Alvaro's testimony, the investigators questioned Daniel about the murders of Claudia and Chip. Initially, he feigned ignorance, citing news coverage. The interrogation delved into his life, studies, and family, lasting over 3 hours. Eventually, the investigators presented a recording of Alvaro's statements, causing visible shock on Daniel's face. Despite his initial resistance, he confessed to the crimes, revealing that he had lost control on that fateful night and decided to take someone's life. Wearing gloves and a mask, Daniel carried out the heinous act. He brought along a concealed knife, reserved for such occasions. Exiting his residence, Daniel sought out a house with an accessible door or window. Unfortunately for Chip and Claudia, the living room window was left ajar. Daniel covertly entered, cautiously ensuring the homeowners were asleep. Progressing to the bedroom, he discovered Chip and Claudia in a deep slumber. The sight astonished him, eliciting joy as he envisioned fulfilling long-held fantasies. Initiating the gruesome act, Daniel mercilessly stabbed Claudia multiple times, awakening her in shock and terror. Her screams and cries fueled Daniel's macabre satisfaction, prompting him to forcefully continue the assault. Chip, initially thinking his wife was having a nightmare, remained unaware. Daniel left Claudia immersed in her blood and shifted his focus to stabbing Chip, ensuring their demise. Seating himself between the lifeless bodies, he alternated between stabbing them until exhaustion set in. Pondering his next move, Daniel decided on further mutilation. The morbid idea of dissecting them took hold, leading him to carve and slice their bodies. Attempting to gouge out Claudia's eye for a gruesome curiosity, he proceeded to extract her teeth and etch markings on Chip's face with the knife. The ghastly desecration continued with the dismemberment of the two corpses. To escalate the horror, he tore out Claudia's heart, replacing it with a phone, and extracted Chip's heart, substituting it with a glass of wine. According to Daniel's confessions, he committed these acts to mislead the police. Once he completed the crime, he exited through the living room window. The investigators searched Daniel's residence and uncovered the tools employed in the gruesome act. Among the findings were the clothes he wore, stained with the blood of Chip and Claudia. When questioned about why he retained these incriminating items, Daniel explained that he intended to keep them as a memento of his inaugural criminal act, expressing immense satisfaction in its execution. As Daniel disclosed all the details, the investigator queried him further. "You mentioned earlier, Daniel, that upon encountering someone, you contemplate how to kill them. What method did you consider for me when we first met?" Daniel responded with chilling versatility, outlining multiple ways, such as hanging with the tie around the investigator's neck or striking the head with a mirror, utilizing broken glass for further harm, or extracting the brain. These revelations solidified the investigators' conviction that they were dealing with a unique form of a budding serial killer. Despite being merely 15 years old, Daniel demonstrated a formidable criminal mindset, the mindset of a seasoned serial killer. Daniel revealed to investigators one of his sinister plans, which involved taking a baseball bat and assaulting anyone he discovered sleeping on the street. He intended to relentlessly strike their head until he crushed their brains. Despite being categorized as a minor in legal terms, the severity of his crime compelled the court to prosecute him as an adult. The judge handed down a sentence of 52 years in prison for Daniel. If he survives the duration of his sentence, he will be released at the age of 67 in the year 2065. So guys, do you think Daniel Marsh is a victim of family and society problems, or is he an instinctive criminal? Drop your opinions below. If you enjoy these gripping crime narratives, let me know by hitting the like button and sharing your thoughts in the comments.